All right, Carson, here is fourth visit.
Fourth visit.
So tell us about how you felt after this last visit.
Great. I have been sleeping better. Sleeping a whole lot, actually. Body really wanted it. It's been 6 days since my last seizure, which is unheard of. I've been having multiple seizures a day for many months now. So
Wow.
It's a breath of fresh air.
Wow, isn't that awesome? And weren't surprised at all because how locked up and twisted his neck felt and how it looked on the x-ray. But tell us, what was it like sleeping before then?
It was dreadful. I mean, it was unheard of. I was either sleeping way too much and just could not get out of bed, extreme fatigue, or I wasn't sleeping at all. My best friend for getting rid of all of those bogged down toxic feelings.
Do you notice any difference with this?
Oh yeah. So right when this goes on, and even just as we're speaking, I feel chills going through my body. I can feel my eyes relaxing as if there's glasses being put on. It's almost that clear. Issues started early childhood. Started out with just anxiety, depression, gut issues, pain, ran in the family, thought it was, explainable. Things progressed. I ended up having some head traumas, as well as living in a really toxic environment. Along the way, saw many different types of doctors, from psychiatrists who said it was just an imbalance in the brain, to orthopedics. I actually ended up having 2 surgeries, one on my hip, one on my back, trying to fix this issue, which seemed to be coming to a climax. Had a few different head traumas, and after that point, the seizures started. A lot of these other more severe symptoms started. I had no idea what it was. I went to neurologists. They did EEGs. There was no electrical malfunctioning in my brain. So the seizures were non-epileptic. I was given a diagnosis of FND, which was used just essentially to say that my software was malfunctioning, but my hardware was okay. So there was some sort of unknown chemical factor which was causing my seizures, my memory issues, cognition problems. And they kind of gave me a, I don't know, response of how to go about fixing it. Ended up Googling around, trying to find anybody that had been through anything similar to me, looking at functional neurology, and thankfully was able to find a ping for these guys over here. And I can't tell you the night and day difference it's been, even from that first adjustment and the Atlas realignment. It has been, my brain is at a point where I've never, perceived it could be. The feeling of just being in my own skin, of feeling like I'm comfortable, I can breathe. Huge one, no more seizures. And,
wow, that's amazing.
Life's good.
So much experience and so much emotion and so much of your cycle and your arc of your life has come through this huge change, and seeing all these things improve, it's almost seems impossible and overwhelming, but it happens. And we were able to know based on doing an examination where I was able to feel in his neck. Now, other chiropractors, have you ever been to other chiropractors?
I have. They always called me Gumby, said I was hypermobile, and I felt that, but there was never any lasting change. It was just
never lasting change. So how many
Band-Aid.
chiropractors have you been to?
Oh, at least 5, 6.
Okay, so this may be chiropractic related, but does that mean all chiropractors are qualified to analyze or image or therefore correct the upper cervical misalignment, right? That's sadly not the way it is. So uniquely in our clinic, we have an understanding of some of the functional neurology. We have some of the ways of analyzing the eye movements. We're able to analyze and look at things from different perspectives, because all of his symptoms, I don't automatically know it's coming from the neck. There's a number of things that could be. So we have to differentiate and do differential diagnosis of different things. When we felt his neck and we imaged the neck, I knew immediately that he would have an amazing change. And didn't I tell you?
Oh, absolutely. I was brought to tears. Honestly, I mean, even before experiencing the change and feeling the difference that, was right around the corner, just the hope that somebody was willing to listen to me, understood, at least in the general vague patterning of this whole world, that there is a hope shot. There are people that have been there before me that have found relief.
Tell us a little bit more. Tell us about what happened to your memory and your cognition. Can you describe that?
There were days day after day where I couldn't remember my name. I didn't know where I was, who I was. I would have trouble recognizing my mother, my wife, let alone my surroundings. I can't explain the prison of your own mind.
Would you remember this after you'd come out of an
absolutely.
episode? How long would these episodes last like this?
Anywhere from, just a few minutes, like a typical seizure event, to an episode that would, span a few days.
Wow.
And so it was...
But you could remember what happened? And that you were trapped in that moment?
Yep. And when I would come out, it would be a moment of realization of my, how critical it was, a panic moment.
Wow.
And then quickly falling back into just kind of...
Yeah. Have you heard of
mode.
Have you heard of the term dissociation?
Totally.
Where you feel like you're experiencing your own mind and brain, or your body is something existential or outside of you?
I've had psychiatrists tell me, that there's a possibility. I was dealing with a dissociative disorder. With FND, there is aspects of dissociative, episodes that can occur. But no, it felt like I was standing behind me, watching myself experience reality. There was no personal involvement.
Wow. How did this affect your gut function? How did you notice that difference?
Well, I've been dealing with gut things. That was probably the first thing, even before, my back and my hip, way back when in high school. Stress really triggered it, but
oh yeah,
colitis feeling I had,
irritable bowel syndrome.
I've gotten the diagnosis.
Put that in there somewhere. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Colonoscopies, endoscopies, biopsies, looking for colitis, anything, no results. Everything.
So how many medical doctors have you been to, do you think?
Man, now that I'm starting to list all of the different avenues we've been down trying to find this, 10 at least.
Yeah, 10?
Yeah.
And all these different diagnoses will show up because these are all downstream from what? His brain and his spine. His nervous system was being interrupted by the atlas bone, which was twisting and caused all these neurologic reflexive patterns, blocking his cerebral spinal fluid. And that caused a cascading effect of negativity on his brain and things like that.
Yeah.
Can you tell us about narcolepsy and insomnia?
Sure. Honestly, scariest moments of my life was being unable to sleep for upwards of 5 days. Because of this pressure, because of the fight or flight. I felt like I should be running when I'm trying to sleep. Just could not get a deep breath in, causing panic.
Oh my goodness.
Anxiety, causing more insomnia, to the point where during my, dissociative episodes of days on end, falling asleep in the middle of conversations, being unsafe to drive anymore.
Wow.
Can't hold my job, can't go to school, simply because I can't cognitively think enough and I can't stay awake to do the job.
Wow. So that would affect you quite a bit. Can you describe what would happen at night when you'd have episodes or how you'd have to sleep?
I had tried everything from, Ambien to melatonin, to even just Benadryl, trying to just get a good night's rest. Nothing seemed to cut it. I would have crazy night tremors, night sweats. It felt like I was spasming. There was not a mattress or a pillow or a position under the sun that would, bring me any sort of relaxation, because the inability to relax was a physiological issue.
So when earlier you said that the doctors told you had FND, it's a type of seizure disorder, but it wasn't the hardware, it was the software.
Right.
Now the hardware they're thinking of might be the brain and that's function, but let's just realize that his nervous system was being impacted by the hardware of his musculoskeletal system, and that twist and that misalignment was triggering a software malfunction, further hardware malfunction, chemical malfunctions, and everything downstream. The highest up I could go as a practitioner to make an impact in this person's body or any patient's body is the chiropractic adjustment and the understanding of the upper neck. I can't emphasize this enough. If you look through all of our videos and our testimonials, it's not that everybody has this as their primary issue, but if they do, it will affect them many times in just one way or two or three ways. But as you look around and you learn more about these techniques and why it works and what it's affecting, it can affect everything. Now, is there a single doctor that can actually adequately replenish the right amount of chemistry by modifying the certain medication or the right supplement or things like that? Those things can help and they're important, but they are all downstream because they're all affecting symptoms or other systems of the body that are listening to the command center, which is the nervous system. And we impact that with chiropractic. We impact that even though you've been to 5 chiropractors and they couldn't help, working at the very top of the neck very specifically and carefully and delicately because they called you Gumby.
Yeah.
Be able to work on that delicately and correctly, we'd be able to get this change. And I want people to remember, this is so impactful. I hope you can follow this page that you're on right now. I hope you can share this video because this is life-changing. We estimate that there are many, many, many millions of people who suffer with these conditions. Some of our patients just have gut problems and some neck pain. Some of them just have anxiety and, you know, some issues with their bite or their jaw. And when we adjust them, because they came in for some neck pain, they're like, oh my gosh, my gut functions better, this functions better. We took x-rays that give us an exact orientation of how this atlas bone is twisted. When we lay him on his side, these muscles are no longer reflexively tightening because the weight of the head is now here. There's very little force that's required. In fact, if we use too much, nothing happens and the body tightens. So now with this tool, we're going to come in. In his case, we have to just follow the recipe for his alignment based on his x-rays. Let your head just be heavy, okay? So right after this, we're just going to have you lay on your back, okay? Just breathe and let your head be relaxed. Good. So we're just going to look at his leg length now. After we've realigned that top bone, we're seeing what's going on in the postural tone of his body. What does it feel like right now compared to before? Can you feel any change?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Come over here. What are you saying?
Ton less tension, automatically.
Okay. So see this left side? Like his left side before was really tight and it pulled his whole hip up. When I analyze it now, I can see that this has dropped down completely because when the head's on straight, this tension, this postural tension, the motor system is now signaling symmetrically instead of like all twisted, right? Literally his brain is now receiving information as it's coming in and it's integrating that information and it's a calm, it's not stressful. So that's going to influence his brain function, you bet. That feels perfectly symmetrical now, it's great. So Carson, tell us, besides the chiropractic upper cervical care, which got rid of your seizures and all this, can you please describe how the nutrition played a role, what specifically helped you? And maybe.
Well, like I've said, when I came in here, I was, obviously lots of musculoskeletal chiropractic issues, atlas, misalignment. Also was dealing with a really heavy toxin load, living in a moldy house. I mean, I never had the cerebral spinal fluid moving, detoxifying. So I was
that happens.
Very, very bogged down, muscles aching. It was painful.
Yep.
Gut health, really off. For the head traumas and the kind of confusion, brain fog feelings, that Optimag really, really did the trick. I love it. I'm going to keep using it.
It's the type of magnesium. There's malate, there's citrate, there's glycinate. There's lots of types of magnesium. But this specifically is the only clinically proven and scientifically valid version of magnesium called Magnesium L-Threonate. And it crosses the blood-brain barrier. It goes into the brain. And this is gigantic for people after concussion and head injury, which he's had.
Yep.
And the stress and the strain and the sympathetic stress of his brain and the memory problems. This is shown to help people with Alzheimer's, with traumatic brain injuries, and it works magnificently in ways you can't get with any kind of medication. So, did you ever take? You said something about it. Can you tell us? How do you know?
Wife.
Hi. I love taking the magnesium because I take my own kind, and it helps me. I feel like more on a surface level, like I'm able to deal with it. But when I use that alone and even in conjunction with the magnesium that I'm already taking, I feel like I can go on for another 5-6 hours.
So the other magnesium is more for what?
It's magnesium calm. So it's more for at night for restless leg, just minor anxieties.
And you feel a difference with that. That stuff works great.
Yeah, it works awesome. But If you want to do Magnesium 2.0, I love that. It helps with my anxiety a lot more, like nighttime anxiety, feeling like, you know, that feeling right before you go to bed where you're kind of freaking out, like, did I do everything I needed to do today? Just allowing yourself to calm down. I feel like that helps you convince yourself just a little bit more that you can relax.
Cool.
And especially as a caretaker for my husband who takes all of these things, like he will wake up, have a bad day, and that helpless feeling, I feel like, doesn't exist anymore because I can just give him a cocktail and feel like I have done something.
You did
to
your
help.
job.
I did
Right.
it. And it works. And he
Good
does.
work.
He'll be like, oh my goodness, what did you give me?
Yeah.
Because you feel so much different.
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah.
Can you tell me
That's
about this?
amazing.
What's the nickname for this stuff?
The magic
The
sauce.
sauce.
The sauce.
The magic sauce.
The magic sauce.
If you want to know what this does, as I say in all my other videos with people that fly in from Hawaii or from out of country or out of state, or other people that come in from Park City, I have a lot of these patients, you know, as you know. If they have a head injury, if we give them the magic sauce, everybody just doubles down on that. All these ingredients, I'll email them right to you. I'll let you look at the ingredients with lists to scientific studies of why each of these ingredients helps people with head injuries and some of the stress and overwhelming stuff that can go on with the brain.
Yeah.
One of the main things that we got here are ingredients that help vasodilation without compromising or causing addiction like caffeine would. And I don't want to compare it to caffeine other than the fact that it just opens up blood vessels, among many other things it does to replenish the cells in the brain. And can you tell me how you notice the difference with this?
Oh, yeah.
Magic Balance, the magic sauce.
The best kind of abstract way that I can put the feeling is that when I take it, it feels like everything from my circulation to the pressure release, it gets things moving.
Wow.
It makes it feel like, you know, I'm no longer, you know, trudged down in the trenches physically, mentally.
You feel sharper.
I feel sharper,
Yeah.
and when I use that in conjunction with these other things, especially the mag, the cognition change is sensible. when it
Tell me
kicks
about the
in.
glutathione. Do you notice any difference with this?
Oh yeah, my best friend for getting rid of all of those bogged down toxic feelings, the achy joints, the lactic acid buildup. It really, really does help things too.
And that mold toxicity, if you go to any functional medicine practitioner,
Glutathione.
this is like the top king. I have a picture of this in every room. It's the only supplement I have a picture of in every single room of my clinic. And that's because it worked for so many conditions, and it replenishes and reverses oxidative stress, which occurs under a virus stress or mental stress, or where people are suffering or dealing with inflammation. And it does it through a very unique pathway going after inflammation. So you notice the difference with each of these independently.
Oh yeah.
And would he need this in general to always have to be taking these? No, but his brain is overcoming decades of neurologic conditions that have been diagnosed from 5 different chiropractors, 10 different medical doctors, gastroenterologists, neurologists, etc.
Yeah.
Can you tell me which of your neurologists recommended any of these supplements for your brain that are scientifically proven to do what we described that they would do and what they have done for you? How many of your doctors recommend this?
So, as unbelievable as it may be, it's going to be quite believable. This is the first time that nutrition, supplements, anything, any input has been offered, suggested, or implemented from any of the dozens of doctors, chiropractors that I've seen in the past. And the tandem approach of doing both the musculoskeletal work as well as the internal work, it's been monumental. I don't think I'd be
It's
where I
amazing.
am without it.
But no other doctor recommended this then?
No. Oh, no.
No, but they all approved it.
The
They're all
closest...
cool with it, yeah.
We
They're
went
like,
back
okay, that's
and
cool.
said, yeah, we're taking this. And they're like, that's good. Good for you. Do you feel better?
I think the closest
Good.
that I've been suggested is go find a multivitamin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was the only thing.
Yeah, and that's fine, you know, but that's, you know, this stuff is valid. The thing is, there's no patent. You can't patent this and sell. A pharmaceutical company won't make money. And the medical world, the system, and they help a lot of people. They're not out to replenish the cells and help people's immune system function better or their gut. They don't do things to support the body. They just do things to manipulate pathways to change chemistry, which is very downstream from just baseline fundamental basic needs. And these things over and over help again. Nutrition is king. The nervous system and alignment is king in so many of the conditions that we deal with. And it's oftentimes the most neglected. It's just mind-blowing how often this stuff works. But we're grateful that you took the time to watch this. Thank you so much. And if you have any of these conditions, and I'd be happy to help you find where you need to go. So message me. I'd be happy to help you. The least you can do is get an examination by a qualified practitioner that does functional neurology or upper cervical chiropractic depending on what condition you have. But never give up. It's fun to see that you've come full circle. You were inspired by testimonials, weren't you? And now you are one.
Brought me in, and yeah, there's hope. There's absolutely hope.
Never give up. And you know what? We have to just say, I think a huge reason why he's doing so well is because he was meditating, because he was doing healthy things. He did everything in his ability to do the best he could, and he never gave up. And his wife and the work she's gone through in support and the hope and the faith that they've had led them to find a solution. And I'm glad that we could be part of that journey with you.
No, likewise.
Thank you.
Likewise. Thanks so much.
Awesome.
Yeah. Well, I use it at night. I do it before bed. And one, I can feel the switch from the, into the rest and relaxation mode. It's caused stomach gurgling, so I can feel my digestion starting. I feel my muscles relaxing. I used to have a crazy, behind the eye pain, pressure, had, kind of craniofacial tension by the end of the day to the point where, it would keep me up all night long. Right when this goes on, and even, just as we're speaking, I feel chills going through my body. I can feel my eyes relaxing as if, there's, glasses being put on. It's almost that clear. I can feel a sensation where, there's no resistance when I'm moving my eyes and when I look. Another thing that it does for me is typically, when I'm trying to release and trying to do, that restful state without the light going, it would take upwards of an hour just to get enough breaths of breathing to the point where I felt like, my body wasn't in a constant spasm.
Yeah.
And whichever pathway it is that I'm trying to use to breathe in and to relax, it feels like I have, extra horsepower behind me, where the floodgates are just opened to the point where things are moving throughout the whole body. I can breathe better. There's no pressure in my chest.
Wow.
It's incredible.
So we've done eye exercise with you and saw that your eyes had a hard time tracking things and doing saccades,
Right.
which are quick eye movements.
Right.
And that's a challenge for your brain. When I sent you home to give you exercises to help you, how did this impact that?
So typically before the laser, the exercises were extremely hard. I would have to break, after almost just one saccade.
You'd move your eyes this side and your eyes would feel what?
Bruised, almost.
Yeah, they feel
bruised
tired
and as if they're going out of focus. Mm-hmm.
Did that change with upper cervical care?
It did.
Yeah.
It did. But I definitely hit a plateau. I hit a point where it felt like, I couldn't keep up with the kind of regression where it was trying to fall back into that.
And those exercises are very demanding. Eyes use a lot of horsepower and a lot of different lobes of the brain. Every single lobe of his brain is being impacted with his eye movements and the exercise we gave him. So by juicing his brain and getting his brain to a state where it could handle it, we had the floodgates open by the alignment. We gave him some nutrition for his brain, which he noticed a difference with. And then when we did this, you noticed a very stark difference.
Absolutely.
So that's cool.
Absolutely. Yeah,
that's
undeniable.
awesome.
Yeah, I love it.
And anything else that you noticed with it? Just energy-wise or mood or sleep or what?
I sleep better. I definitely am getting more solid sleep through the night. Feel like I'm actually hitting some REM cycles, which normally, I wake up feeling like I reverse sleep. I feel more tired in the mornings.
How stoked is your brain on the future?
Oh, absolutely stoked.
Freaking legit.
No, this is phenomenal.
Cool.
Highly
Awesome.
recommend, yeah.
Thanks for sharing that with us. I'm glad it's helping your brain so much.
Thank you.
Yeah. Can you tell us what you felt immediately after and for a little while?
That my neck was, for the first time in about 8 years, in the right position. Felt like I could breathe and I was getting blood flow.
Wow.
He was excessively salivating in the car.
So on the drive home, he was excessively salivating.
Yeah, like he said that he was like, wow, this is so weird. There's so much spit in my mouth and this is very unusual.
Wow. So you're able to have salivation. Let me just point to what that is. Looking at the autonomic nervous system, the brain can either be in a fight or flight state or a parasympathetic state.
Yeah.
And salivation is right here. It's controlled by the vagus nerve, which leaves right in front of the atlas as it comes out of the brainstem. And when someone's in a stressful fight or flight state, they will typically have more dry mouth, more racing heart, more like inability to have their gut function properly. But when we realigned that bone and took the tension off, it's no surprise that he had increased salivation. His brain was going through this ability to to play through these different options instead of always being in one side with his seizures.
No.
So that's cool that you got that change because this has a change on the brain. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Now, right now, you feel some inadvertent twitching with your throat. Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
And you've had this before.
Yeah.
This is always happening. Okay, we're going to just monitor this. This is your second visit. We're going to work on you, okay?
Great.
All right, Carson, we're just going to look at your leg length here. This side's showing short. This is your pattern. So this leg is being pulled up from looking at his kneecaps too. And we would expect, as usual, oh, the tightness feels like it's worse on the left to me. What side do you feel it on?
Left.
So his seems to have an interesting pattern today. So we're just observing that. We expect after we realign the neck that tension should immediately release as his brain is unwinding. Okay, because when the muscles up here are tight, there's a lot of proprioceptors here more than anywhere else in the whole spine. Every bit of tissue has these receptors, but if here, there's a ton of them. If it's not integrating correctly and it's not symmetrical here, the brain takes that information and then it has to take that information to know how to send out motor control, which is to keep you posturally upright. And your brain's interpretation of your body is distorted because this is so twisted. So when this changes, your whole body releases there, but also things above that as well will change.
Right.
So we have subtle misalignment. His neck here, this bone here is twisted to the left. So I'm going to come in and change its orientation, which will change the signaling into the brain. Yeah, it feels very tight through here. This is Bruce breathe. That's a little bit softer. That's good. And how's your throat responding now?
Oh, it feels different.
Yeah, before, did you see the twitching that was going on? This area is the conduit to everything, to the body. It has to go right through this space, and his is congested. You don't want that on a freeway. You can't expect things to get to the city if there's congestion on the freeway. We're just working on the superhighway of his intelligence. And we're going to do this. Lift your head up. Remember, as we did this before, just keep your teeth together, okay, and breathe. I'm just going to stretch for a minute. Oh, I could feel each of those. Click, 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 click. And then that big sigh of relief. But there's fluid retention up here. We're going to have to help that drain. Helps support this flow. And these lymph, I can feel each of the lymph glands that are swollen. There's a little drr, drr as we go through there. They need help clearing out. So any massage you can get in your neck, that's your job.
Yep. I did
probably
when
do that,
he
huh?
was in a seizure push on his vagus nerve.
Yeah, right here.
And yeah, I did not bring him out of it, but it brought him to a certain level of consciousness that he did not have before. Like if he was totally unresponsive, I would push on the nerve for like 15, 20 seconds, and he would be able to blink and then look at me all of a sudden.
So I'll have you, we'll practice that together on me, okay?
Yeah.
I'll show you where it's exactly to go. It looks
Please.
like you don't want to hold it for too long, but
No.
that's probably fine. There's some studies on that.
It was pretty cool. Like I usually when I'm doing stuff and when he's in an episode, I feel like nothing is working and I'm just doing it purely for me to feel like I am doing something.
Yeah.
But that was one of the things where if I pushed on his neck or like held his neck open or like pulled his head up, that I
Good.
felt like it actually helped something.
Cool, that's good. Yeah, we found a lady collapsed in the parking lot here. I looked out my window, I'm like, someone's out there. I ran out to help. She was passed out and she had blood flow. She had chest movement, so I didn't have to do compressions, but she wasn't breathing. And I'm like, I'm not good at first responder stuff, but I knew some things about how to reset stuff. So she's sitting there, tried to do mouth-to-mouth, didn't work. And I just reach in here and I press really hard on the carotid artery. I wouldn't recommend anybody do this, by the way, but I reached in the carotid artery and the vagus nerve, which comes right in front of that, right in front of the atlas right here. And immediately it just changed her integration of her brain's ability to take in all this. So, and I've shown you all these studies on the vagus nerve stimulation. There's tons of scholarly articles and on epilepsy.com and all these WebMD, you can read about how that's a treatment to stop or suppress seizures and epilepsy. So that's this integration that we're talking about. We're taking the physical compression. The vagus nerve leads right through this hole. Come look at this. This hole right here, called the jugular foramen, the vagus nerve comes right in front of it, in front of the atlas. So if there's all this rotation up here and inflammation, it's not going to function. It can't deliver its intelligent signaling. Let's have you breathe deeply. I'm gonna do some massage stuff in your nose and out your mouth. Yeah, your neck has tons of inflammation. I don't feel necks like this very often. But cool, this is good. We're gonna keep getting you better.
Right.
Are you aware that you're having a seizure, or do you kind of black out? Describe what it's like.
I can remember the come up. I've learned some kind of tells that my body will give. Sometimes it's a phantom smell or just like a general feeling. But once the episode hits, I black out the whole thing until I'm coming to.
And that can last for?
My all-time longest has been about 15 minutes, which is for a non-epileptic seizure.
And it's been 6 days since you've had a seizure. How often would you get them before?
I was having multiple, upwards of 5, 6 a day.
What kind of things are you experiencing different in your life right now?
For one, my wife's super grateful.
Oh,
I can
wow.
walk the dog, I can put away groceries. I've been actually going through a storage unit, which has been looming over my head for quite a while now, and so finally able to use my brain and sort through some stuff.
Wow. These blood vessels come right through here, right through this bone. And this bone is so freely movable, the atlas bone. 45% of your rotation of your neck has to do with this bone by itself. These other bones participate with rotation. If I'm going to turn my neck, all these segments are participating, but the top bone does most of it. But look at this little hose in there. Do you want to be stretching that out? If he already has a rotation, which is dramatic here, and there's tons of congestion and tension in here, not only do we have blood flow here being compromised, but blood flow through the venous drainage. When the brain is draining blood, it comes through this hole right here, the jugular foramen, and you can see my finger right through there. It's right in front of that atlas bone. That's triggering not only that, but also his vagus nerve comes right through that same hole. Remember the vagus nerve? That's the parasympathetic. I don't think I mentioned it, but the parasympathetic branch is single-handedly controlled through one nerve. That's the vagus nerve that comes right in front of that atlas bone. So if he's got all this rotation right up here, it's compromising his parasympathetic function deliberately, like physically as well. It's also compromising his blood flow getting in and out of his brain, which is not good for the brain. And then last but not least, the cerebrospinal fluid. Fluid that goes in and out of the brain has to circulate through. It's always moving. At night, it circulates faster. If you have a twist on the valve, that fluid's hardly going to be able to get through and do its job, and that can cause seizures. There's lots of different potential mechanisms for why this is happening, but either way, it causes chaos. And he turns into, here's our recent case of our severe headaches, chronic fatigue, neck pain, dizziness, nausea, anxiety, 5 MDs, no results. Now she's doing 100% better. She didn't happen to have seizures, but seizures get thrown into this mix with a lot of our patients. They have these other weird symptoms going on, and it's not a medication that's going to fix it. It has to be assessed. If there's no problem here, we tell a patient, hey, there's actually nothing we can do for you. Everything in your neck looks good. Go to the other doctor. So no seizures for 6 days. You're feeling a ton better, but what symptoms do you have today? Do you have any pressure or pain anywhere? What do you feel?
Yeah, still dealing with a headache. It's been over a day now. Just a lot of pressure within my skull. As I can feel the mobility coming back, and I'm feeling like my head is more aligned, and the center of balance is better. But it's been calling into play a lot of kind of the secondary and support muscles.
Yeah.
My collarbone, shoulders have been really sore. A little bit of tingling in my fingertip.
Did that go away with the other previous visit?
It did, but it came back fairly quickly.
Okay, so the seizures are at bay. That top issue, that's going away, but there's these still
Right.
things that we're unwinding. This Carson, we're also doing a little bit more work than atlas and adjustments by supporting his muscles in his neck. The muscles in his neck are, how would you describe them, Carson?
Oh, they're trigger happy.
They are trigger happy, huh?
Prone to seizing and tightening up, slipping my vertebrae.
Seizing up, right? And he actually suffers from seizures, as you know. So these muscles tighten up, and it's partly what we're dealing with the alignment at the top of his neck. This second bone, for example, is twisted way off to the left. And while the x-ray, you can tell it's misaligned, it's substantially more obvious just by feeling his neck. That's why we have to do a physical exam to tell. And just pushing on this side, I'm taking his vertebrae here, and I'm trying to push it downward, right? He's laying on his side. and it doesn't move. It's supposed to move. That bone, as you turn your head, it's supposed to move and swivel evenly. If I push down on the other side, it moves really easily. There's a lot of give. This side is restrictive and tight, which triggers up these proprioceptors, which are the receptors inside these muscles that are densely populated at the top of the neck. And that tightness on one side, sending a completely different signal to the brain than looseness on the other side, it's part of the reason why his brain is in this stressful sensory overload. Okay, as we turn this down, it calms his eyes down, it calms his brain down, it calms a lot of things down, okay? But we're also have to support the neck by going after these muscles, and that's what we're doing. So we have a gua sha tool. We come in, and just a little bit of work, especially on this left side. Muscles, as you came in today, they're nice and tight, and we'll get them loosened up. So when the adjustment that we perform, it'll actually stay better, okay? It's not that every patient requires a massage like this in their neck, but some of our patients, it's absolutely part of the game-changing effects that we have. Instead of just adjusting them and sending them on their way, we have to pay attention to the entire person and their needs. And if I don't have the ability to hire someone or refer to someone to acutely take care of this little issue, I have to take care of it myself. And if I don't, you won't get the change that we've been getting, which has been great. So, did you get change?
A lot of pressure behind my eyes. Just my overall sense of, rest and relaxation is just triggered.
How long has it been since you've had a seizure, first of all?
Oh, it's been weeks and weeks and weeks. I couldn't even tell you. It's been at least 3.5, 4 weeks.
Wow,
Which
3.5,
is
4 weeks.
Coming from multiple times a day, so that's life-changing.
That's huge. Now, so what are the things that you noticed still when you came in today? Can you turn this way and look at the camera and tell us what you've been experiencing, how you described when you came in today?
A lot of breathing restriction. I felt like there was negative pressure where I couldn't get a breath in. Things were clamping up, closing down. Pressure behind my eyes. After the adjustment now, I'm feeling totally relieved. All the pressure's gone. I feel like I can get a deep breath in without any unnecessary action or muscle movement. Blood flow, I can feel it moving.
Wow, that's amazing.
Took over my life. It was hard to have hope until, coming here, finding these solutions, and it's just a night and day difference.